Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, before I get to the main topic here today, I want to talk about a couple of things that are speculative. There are some reports coming out, including some from German media, that Budanov, the head of Ukrainian intelligence, was injured in an airstrike on a decision making center in Ukraine, and he was evacuated out to Germany. And this German media source, which is not a small one, actually says that they spoke with the doctors and that Budanov is in a coma. Some reports that are more speculative state that Zaluzhny, the head of the general, that is the head of Ukrainian armed forces, has also been evacuated to some Western country because of injuries that occurred because of an airstrike, allegedly because of an airstrike. I've already voiced my own questions on that issue. There have been videos of him since that allegedly happened, but there's no date on the videos and no indication in the videos which would confirm that those videos were recorded after the alleged after his injuries. So the head of the Ukrainian armed forces and head of Ukrainian intelligence are both not functioning in their roles. So that does beg the question, who's making decisions? Of course, we all know that the decisions being made in Ukraine, for Ukraine, are not being made in Ukraine. They are being made through NATO and the United States. We know this. That's not a question. Anyway, lost my train of thought. One moment. All right. So one thing that is absolutely known is that Ukraine has been losing a lot of armored vehicles, Leopard 2 tanks, and Bradleys. 50% of those armored vehicles that have been sent to Ukraine have been taken out of the picture. So the West is now talking about, this is speculative again, but sounds rational enough, that the West is talking about trying to gather up M60 tanks to send to Ukraine. All right, so M60 tanks are Vietnam era U.S. tanks. They're smaller. They have lighter armor than the M1s or the Challengers or the Leopard 2s. Probably comparable to a Leopard 1. And these, I used to work on these things. These things are bears. They require constant maintenance. The engine on these things is an AVDS 1790. That's air-cooled V configuration diesel supercharged. 1790 refers to the engine being 1,790 cubic inches. This engine weighs over 2 tons. Humorous story is that when I was in the Army, I had one of these on the back of my truck. I drove a very large truck, and we were trying to remove it using a military wrecker. That thing is huge. It's got a rotating turret, a crane on it. So they didn't have the outliers, the supports uh, set down for this. And the crane was turned to the side, so our vehicles were next to each other. They lifted the engine a couple of inches, and somebody motioned for me to move my vehicle forward. I moved my vehicle forward. As soon as that engine cleared my vehicle, the weight of the engine drug carried it down to the ground and tilted the wrecker at a 45-degree angle. The cable went down, went slack, and then snapped back up. The two people on the wrecker climbed up over the top and bailed off the side. So the wrecker operator had to climb back onto the wrecker and very slowly extend the cable until the wrecker's other wheels were on the ground again. We were very lucky. It didn't completely just wind up on its side, but yeah, that's something you never forget. So that is how large the engines on these things are. You know, many times the size of the engine and some of these other vehicles. But if you're looking for something that's 60 years, 50, 60 plus years old to send to Ukraine, it means you've run out of other options. Anyway, so reports coming now. This is from Russian sources. But they do have videos confirming some of this, at least, that Ukrainian soldiers are surrendering in large numbers along the line of contact. And and there are some reports that Ukrainian soldiers are actually sabotaging their own vehicles, putting sand or sugar or whatever into the gas tanks and making their vehicles break down. This can be all propaganda, obviously. I don't ever talk about things without having some questions to confirm or debunk it. In this case, I'm going to present evidence which actually supports this narrative. We know that Ukraine has anti-retreat squads. This was reported by Ukraine, that if you try to retreat without orders, that you will be, arrested and convicted of treason, desertion, treason, etc. But it's even worse. There have been many reports of soldiers refusing to fight, being taken out in the woods and shot in the head. Not long ago, there was a video that came out that was shown on the Military Summary channel and on, what the heck is that? Telegram. That showed Ukrainian soldiers carrying a wounded soldier away from the combat line and to a trench. Well, the next thing you know, a Bradley, highly identifiable, comes up and fires into the trench, killing all of them. So that was at least 5 soldiers that were killed by anti-retreat forces. They killed them because they were not on the front line. So these things, even if they're just rumors, they get around. But this is more than rumor. Other things that would tend to confirm this is there, with all of the destroyed vehicles and artillery attacks on the Ukrainian forces, they have been losing at least 1,000 soldiers per day. So now I'm not saying that the Russian forces are not losing soldiers or equipment, but the thing is, the Ukrainian forces have not really been able to penetrate the security zone set up by Russia. So they get a few hundred meters in and they get pushed back. They've taken over one small town, which was then heavily bombarded with missiles, artillery, drones, and helicopters. So there were several hundred Ukrainian soldiers allegedly lost to take this town. So they're holding that town, but at what cost? What this means is that the Ukrainian soldiers, most of whom I would venture, did not want to fight. They've been conscripted, often forcibly conscripted. We've seen the videos of this with Ukrainian recruiters pulling up and grabbing men, even teenagers, 15-year-olds, off the street, throwing them into a van to give them 2 to 4 weeks of training and put them on the front line. These people did not want to fight. Remember, Zelensky won by a wide margin when he was running for president. He ran on the platform of ending the Ukraine conflict. So these people were not in favor of this at all. You keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind. The Ukrainian people voted Zelensky into office on the platform of ending the Donbass conflict. Always remember that. So the point that I am making here is that the Ukrainian soldiers that did not want to fight, have been conscripted against their will, underarmed, undertrained, are having to go through these fields of destroyed Ukrainian equipment and bodies of their compatriots. And no matter how many Russian soldiers or equipment have been lost, they don't get to the point where they can see that as a comparison. So this is highly demoralizing. This terrifies them. And meanwhile, there have been many prisoner swaps between Russia and Ukraine. So, this has involved hundreds of soldiers. So, as more and more Ukrainian soldiers get sent back to Ukraine in these prisoner swaps, more and more information comes out that these people have not been tortured. They have not been abused. They're coming back, having received medical care if necessary. They've been fed. They've been clothed. They're coming back healthy. So that reduces any fear of surrendering, because what is their option? To die in combat, which seems almost certain, or surrender. So this tends to lend a lot of credence to the claims that Ukrainian soldiers are surrendering in increasing numbers by the day. And now because they've lost so much armor, now Ukraine is just sending human waves against the Russian forces. So this is going to be even more of an issue. So, but this lends hope to me that this will end soon. I think I actually said it in a previous video that the greatest hope for an end to this conflict is going to be for Ukrainian soldiers to surrender en masse or refuse to fight en masse because Zelensky is not going to negotiate peace. An African delegation, went to Kiev, and the Western media is talking about how Russia was attacking Kiev while they were there, but the African delegation has, in interviews have said, I didn't hear any explosions. I didn't hear any air raid sirens. We were not rushed into a bunker. There were people walking around the city. But they came with a 10-point peace plan proposal, and Zelensky, they were unimpressed. Zelensky would not hear any of it, not even 1 point in that proposal. China has offered a 12-point peace plan. Ukraine, Zelensky will not discuss it, period, at all. So for soldiers to surrender en masse, there are two options here. Either the Ukrainian military gets completely destroyed, or the soldiers surrender or lay down their arms and refuse to fight. Those are your options. Because if your leader is not going to try and bring an end to this, you don't have any other choice. You don't have any other choice. So this, for them to surrender, is now the greatest hope. Are we going to keep on escalating and killing more people? That's what the West wants to do. But, that's not what the people that are out there on the front line want. This is never what they wanted. Anyway, so let's hope. Let's keep on hoping that this is going to end soon. Let's just keep on crossing our fingers. Let's hope. And, keep contacting your own elected officials. Stop sending more and more money and weapons to Ukraine, which, last week, Biden sent another $350 million to Ukraine. This week, the Pentagon committed another $2.1 billion arms package to Ukraine. $2.1 billion. So we have no idea how much this has cost us so far. Conservative estimates are $140 billion. It's destroying Ukraine. It's destroying our own economy. It's harming us. It's harming them. Where does it end? So, soldiers surrendering is our greatest hope right now. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day.